storage allocation, static runtime stack, and heap storage allocation. We already identified what is the meaning of runtime stack, those things API classes also. Now we'll see what is the meaning of this static runtime stack and heap storage first. Then, if possibly, as it is a small one. So from Monday onwards, I can start with the revision of the first 2.5 units. I will take storage allocation for array strings and decodes also. Right. So first of all, when come to the storage allocation with reference to the static and runtime or heap storage allocations, different storage allocation strategies. First of all, we need to identify the different storage allocations are static storage allocation, or stack storage allocation, or heap storage allocation. These are the three different types of storage allocations. Generally, we follow during variable allocation and execution times. Okay. What is the meaning of static storage allocation? The static storage allocation lays out storage for all data objects at compile time. Simply at a compile time. The static storage allocation, it takes place for all the data objects at compile time. Whereas the static storage allocation, we identified in the previous couple of classes as part of execution of the various procedure calls. Okay, in terms of the activation record, the activation records are we are storing as many activation records as possible. Whenever a function call moves from caller function to the called function, then onwards to the any number of levels, okay, that will be stored on the stack. So the stack storage allocation will be happen at execution time or runtime during the function calls in specifically or dynamic memory allocations. We know these two. Frequently we are using this static storage allocation or dynamic storage allocation or static stack allocation. We are having one more type of allocation, okay, called as heap allocation. We know what is the meaning of heap memory. The heap memory is a small individual memories that can be spread across the memory area that can be allocated and deallocated as storage as needed at runtime from that spreading the data free data or memory area called as heap. Okay, data area called as heap. From the heap, we can allocate and deallocate memory as and when required. Okay, so we are having the three different types of memory allocations. Stack allocation done at the compile time. Stack allocation during the runtime allocates the memory on the stack. And one more type of allocation is the heap allocation. That memory can be allocated and deallocated to the storage as and when required at runtime from the specialized data area called as a heap. Okay. Specifically, these heap memory allocations are scattered memory locations joined together with the links. Okay, right. Now we'll see these three allocations and what are the advantages or limitations. Okay, with reference to the memory allocation. Static allocation is done at the compile time. Static storage allocation is done at compile time. The static storage has fixed locations. The static storage has the fixed locations. Be careful, because as we are doing at the compile time, like array or individual memory locations, we can't expand. Okay, or we can't remove also. These static storage allocations are fixed allocation that does not change during the program execution. Here, with reference to the compiler, we need to identify, we are binding these locations to the required variables, okay, during the binding phases, okay, that we are going to learn in the next units. As the bindings do not change at the runtime, no runtime support is required. As the bindings are done, binding means we are attaching a specific memory location with that particular address to the reference memory variable is called as binding that variable to the program at the execution. Okay. So as bindings do not change at the runtime, the memory locations are fixed. No runtime support is required for the static memory allocation. Otherwise, the binding will be changed accordingly each and every time whenever we are executing the particular program. Okay, we need to support that particular location to this the variable. So at the compile time, compiler can fill the addresses at the compiler time. The compiler can fill the addresses at which the target code can find the data, at which the target code can find the data it operates on. That means at the compilation itself, we are identifying the addresses. From the addresses, we are identifying the required data and we are operating on the data. Okay. So till now, what is the only the difference we are identifying with reference to the compiler? It doesn't require the binding at runtime. Okay, binding is the process of attaching that memory locations to the program code. Okay, that is not required in case of the static memory allocation. In the static allocation, names are bound to storage locations. Okay, here we are not giving any labels. The static allocation, we are verifying the memory location using the name. We are referencing the storage locations using the name, right? So Fortran uses static allocation strategy in particularly. Okay, what is the limitation is the size of data object should be known at the compile time. So for example, size of the array, it is 100 locations or 50 locations or 10 locations. It has to be declared or known at compile time. In particular, the recursion is not supported in the static memory allocation because based on the logic, it is calling the recursion is calling itself, and finally it is terminated at when the required condition is reached. It is not supported in the static locations. Data structures cannot be created at runtime. Data structures cannot be created at runtime. Okay, right. So the second allocation called as the stack allocation. The stack allocation manages runtime storage as a stack. That is, whenever we are calling the recursion, we can call the control stack in the activation records. The control stack is containing the addresses of call function or calling functions. Okay, so activation records are pushed and pop as activation begins and ends respectively using the stack allocation. Okay, the previous activation records can be pushed, and when it is finished, it can be popped. The local variables are always bound to fresh storage in each activation record. Local variables, the variables are always bound to the fresh storage. That means at the execution time, the bounding variable memory location will be changed. Okay, because we are using a new activation in onto the stack when a call is made. We are making a new activation onto the stack when a call is made. Whenever a function is calling any other call function, the instance of the call function will be created, and various variables related to the call function will be maintained at the stack. At the same time, the calling function activation records also be maintained on the stack. Okay, the values of locals are deleted at activation ends. Whenever the call function is finished its operations, its values will be deleted, or its activation records will be deleted from the stack dynamically. So by adding dynamically the activation records onto the stack and after the stack, the data structures are creating dynamically for stack allocation. Be careful, that is the thing. Here we need to identify what the only thing is with the basic principle of the stack. It works on the basis of last state first out. It works on the basis of last state first out. And this allocation supports the recursion process, and this allocation supports the recursion purpose. As many possible as activation records as we can push onto the stack. Once again, we know the stack can be created statically and dynamically. Be careful. here we can refer the dynamic allocation of the stack. Like the limitations are the values of local variables cannot be retained once activation ends. The values of local variables cannot be retained once the activation record or once the call function is finished. Okay, it removes that variables. That variable will be freed. Okay, the memory address can be done using pointers and index registers. The memory addressing can be done using pointers and index registers. Okay, the pointer variables we know the index register is nothing but registers in the with reference to the CPUs. Okay, it maintains the pointers. Okay, this type of allocation is slower than the static allocation because here as and when required we are creating, as and when required we are removing. Okay, that memory location. That is the main thing in the stack allocation. And the allocation is called as the heap allocation. Unlike the either stack allocation or static allocation, heap allocation is most flexible allocation scheme. Here the storage can be allocated and deallocated in any order. In the previous case stack, it is last in first out. In the heap allocation, it can be done. The allocations and deallocation can be done in any order. Okay, and we can get the dynamic memory locations, dynamic memory locations from any available free memory. We call it as a heap. If the value of non-local variables must be retained even after the activation record, then such retaining is not possible by stack allocation. Okay, in the stack, any local variables or non-local variables to be retained even after the activation record means finishing of the function. It is not possible in the stack allocation, but in case of the heap allocations, we can retain all local variables or non-local variables also. Because in the heap memory allocation, all available memory locations are not with reference to any other one. We can refer in any order. Okay, so we can retain also, so that we can retain also. The heap allocation allocates the continuous block of memory when required for storage of activation records. Okay, so a heap is nothing but the heap. The definition of heap itself is nothing but a continuous block of memories or scattered memory elements that can be joined together pointers, and we can treat it as a continuous block of memory. Okay, so the heap allocation allocates continuous block of memory as and when required for storage of activation records. Okay, practically there is no limit. Only the limitation is only available free memory and the size of that disk. Okay, that is one of the advantage with reference to the heap allocation. Okay, it need not be in the continuous locations, need not be in the continuous locations, but we are treating it as a continuous memory only. This allocated memory can be deallocated when activation ends, can be, or we can retain also sometime whenever we require. Freeze phrase can be pushed once again for reusing by the heap manager. Free phrase, free space can be further reused by the heap manager. By this free memory can be once again joined with the free heap and can be used by the heap manager. So the heap allocation and deallocation is done by the heap manager. Okay, it supports recursion and data structures can be created at runtime. It can support recursion and data structures can be created at runtime. The only overhead is heap manager is having the required overhead. Whenever required a small memory or deallocates the memory, it is completely maintained by the heap manager. It has to process each and every time where is the free memory is available, and it has to maintain with the help of the pointers to connect with the a set pool of free memory, a pool of free memory. Now in this particular class, we'll see one more small one, the storage allocation for arrays, strings and records also. Okay, like so we know what is the meaning of array. Array is nothing but a continuous set of locations. The variables in the array will be identified using the offsets. Okay, unlike with the stack or structure or the these ones, here the computation of the array is done by offsets. Every array is having the base address with the help of the base address, and using the offsets we are identifying the memory location of each and every variable, the memory location of each and every variable in the memory. Okay, right. So this a of I is nothing but as complex as such as a of I. uh, Data size is maybe if it is a variable 2. Okay, it can be, we are treating it as 2 memory locations, and the locations may be identified in the CPU of the C, okay, of the unit. In either case, the variable can be used in an equation. In either case, the variables can be used as an equation that can be set up, okay, at compiler, that can be set up at compiler time, but cannot be evaluated. Okay, we are doing this with the help of the first for array. Okay, those first element is assumed to be at maybe a of 0. This all ones are indicating, these are indicating we are having some data is available at that particular index, at particular index, because the whenever we are using the arrays, we can directly reference the memory location, and we can treat whatever there as the required data element. We can treat with whatever there is data element. The only thing is sometimes we don't know whether the data element contained in the particular memory location is a valid or not. Generally, we indicate those memory locations. Okay, we can initialize the array contents with the 0. 0 indicates it is initialized location. It is not containing any valid data. Okay, that means maybe boolean false. Similarly, even we can identify each and every data element in the array with the 1. We can declare, we can initialize as it is containing some data type. Okay, so an array is we can treat as array of d1 the locations d1 comma d2 to dk of some type of some type. Okay, so the only thing is we need to identify what is the address of the A of I1 location or I2 location or IK location. Okay. The only thing is here we need to identify even that array can be of one dimensional or two dimensional case. For 2 dimensions, we are using the 2 offsets, maybe I1 comma I2. Even when case of the multiple dimensional array, we are using more number of offsets also. Okay, with reference to the particular array memory allocation. Okay, so here the A of d1 comma d2 is of some time means d1 is the dimension 1 and d2 is the dimension d2. Okay, by offset we mean that the distance from the base of the array, which we will call as base A. Okay, from the base of the beginning of the array, we are calling the base address of the A. Okay, right. To reach A1 A of I1 comma I2 from base address, what we are doing, the addresses are created at the compile time. The addresses are created at the compile time. All addresses are located in the contiguous memory locations. The one must travels all the elements in the row 1 from 0 to that last element, or I1 to I1 minus 1 plus all the columns up to I2 in the row for I1 whenever you want to identify a particular element. So here there are D2 elements in the each row indicated by the dimension D1, okay, or dimension D2. Here, maybe rows can be identified with the dimension D1, columns will be identified with the dimension D2, columns will be identified by dimension D2. So D1 elements, the I1 row means in the D1, using the D1, I1 row, and every row is containing T2 elements. So offset is calculated a static memory allocation I1 minus 1 into D2, okay, plus I2 plus I2, okay. So these locations are identifying the memory locations. Finally, this I2 element. So the absolute address is nothing but base address plus number of elements in each row into that whatever the value we want, okay, that number of element we want into dimension of each and every row plus I2. Similarly, the k dimensions also will be identified by calculating base address plus number of elements in the first dimension plus those number of dimensions we require in the nth dimension, whatever where we want the element, the number of elements into data type plus the required value. Okay, this is the way we are optimizing the space, because the sum of indexes is multiplied by the constants, which is nothing but sum of indexes is multiplied by the constant, which is nothing but the data type size, the size of the data type, and these constants can be computed at compile time via constant computation and constant propagation, constant computation, constant computation. Okay, this we can identify whether similarly the array, the string is also nothing but a character array of data type size is 1, but only the difference is it is ended with a special character. It is ended with a special character. We can also refer whether the size of array or a string with the help of grammar. We can identify the grammar as name, ID, subscripts, okay, or subscripts, ID, subscript, comma, ID, okay. Here we want to be able to attach attributes and semantics to the functions through this, okay. Here the example about shown the grammar is indicating. Here we are missing that derives name derives ID, name derives ID or subscript, name derives ID, subscript derives ID, subscript derives subscript and ID. Here the sign is missing here. Okay, don't confuse. All these are nothing but productions. All these are nothing but productions. We want to be able to each attribute and semantic functions to this. We can add attributes for each and every attribute. We can add semantic function to this. Okay, so this particular figure shows a three-dimensional approach, and attributes and dimensions and dimensional offset we are adding as semantics. Dimension is the inherited attribute. Dimension is the inherited attributes, where in the case of arrays or strings, it considers the symbol table at the node for the array name and fetches the values D1, D2 and D3 which are stored there. These are handed down the tree and used in the computation of the offset, which is also called as synthesized attribute. So synthesized attribute means parent is evaluating using its child values. Okay, right. Similarly, we can use a counter where attributes and dimension that count the number of dimensions, presumably for the error checking. Okay, that can be added in the grammar. Okay, so this is a small example how we are calculating the subscripts for one dimension, two dimensional and dimensional operations and declaration of this arrays. Okay, so if you are identifying from the bottom to this particular character, name is the name of the array. Okay, the name of the array or declaration of the array can be identified by a, the production, the variable name a, followed by braces. In between the braces, we can have subscripts. Okay, we can identify the number of dimensions as ndim. Okay, each subscript can have the once again n dimensions. The subscript can be once again, that means based on the number of subscripts, we are elaborating the number of subscripts. It may be, if it is only one, we can say single dimensional array. Okay, if the subscript is divided into 2 or 3, then we are calling it as a 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional array. So the subscripts can be elaborated based on this particular thing. We are identifying n-dimensional. In the simply we can call n-dimensional is 1, offset is I minus 1. Similarly, that n-dimensional can be calculated with the help of offset and n-dimensional. Okay, all these are the synthesized attributes. Ndim and offset shows the ascending order in the particular tree. Similarly, we are having the dimensions are inherited attributes. Okay, dimensions are inherited attributes. Inherited attributes we are calculating from either from the parent values or from the left side of the or children attributes. Okay, those are called as the inherited attributes. Okay, this this is the way we are creating an array using the grammar productions. Okay, using the grammar productions. Okay, right. So with it, we completed this symbol table and the storage allocations organization.